Welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Newell from MSO News Sports, joined by Matt Williams, Nick Giannino, and Nick Kukuru here, the sports writers from the Salem News, and Nick Kukuru from the Gloucester Times. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to see you again this week.
You too, Bill. Thanks for having us.
It's happening.
Well, Matt Williams, let's begin with you. News on this Monday on the Beverly Salem Legion team, and also let's look back to the Peabody West Little League team. So let's begin with the latest in reverse order, the latest news from Beverly Salem Legion.
Well, geez, it ends so fast, doesn't it? This time last week, both of these teams could still be going, and now the run is over. But, August 16th for the end of travel summer baseball is pretty late. That's pretty good. You've had a good run if you're still playing when there's preseason football on, right? Beverly goes down today at the World Series. They were the fifth last team remaining, with the final four going on, and they were fifth. So a little strange circumstance that, as it turned out, it was pool play. They all the teams in their pool were 1-1. So they had to win their last game on Sunday to move on to the semifinals. And, they took a 2-1 lead on Sunday night when it started raining. And, they called a halt to the game, put the tarp on, waited, an hour and a half, Nick? You were sitting there watching it, and
about 90 minutes, yeah.
They were not able to resume. They made the decision to resume on Monday morning at 10 a.m. And, Beverly's bats, stayed behind on Sunday. And they ended up losing that game to Idaho 13-3. Idaho actually went on to batter Mississippi later in the day. They started at 1:00, so they got hot against Beverly pitching, and they stayed hot 9-3. So Idaho is going to be in the championship game against either Hawaii or somebody else. I forget, Michigan or Iowa or somebody like this. So a heck of a season by those boys, though, to go all the way to a World Series. I read that it had been 8-game losing streak for Massachusetts teams in the World Series. And of course, Massachusetts teams don't always win the Northeast Regional either. So I don't know exactly how far back that goes, but for them to even win a game at the World Series coming from Massachusetts, that means a lot. That's pretty good. A little bit ironic. Both Beverly Salem and Peabody West started off with wins and then ended up losing their next two and coming home. So you win those openers, you feel like you're in really good shape. It didn't turn out that way for the local squads.
And the Legion team had like you mentioned, they had a 2-1 lead last night, and they had a man on third when they stopped the action for the rain. So, they could have gotten, a couple more runs that inning. But obviously, they came back on Monday morning and weren't able to do that. And that was kind of it. So, tough situation where you have to, leave a game that you're leading in and come back the next day. And they threw out the same pitcher too, right? Cooper Gavin went back from the mound.
Sure did. Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
He did. Yeah, exactly.
So, it was just a weird situation for them. It was too bad. But like Willie said, great run nonetheless.
What about Peabody West, the Little League team, Matt? Do you want to share any more on that? They wrapped up since the last time we talked a week ago.
Well, I just think a heck of a run. I think all those of us that were watching, New Hampshire ended up winning the regional. They battered Connecticut there on Saturday. So I think Peabody West looks back on their run. They're going to look at that Thursday game that they lost to Connecticut, and that's going to be the one that they wish that they had back. I think they felt like they made a few mistakes in that game, and that game was maybe there for the taking, and it just wasn't meant to be. So, hey, for a team that I don't think, obviously, I think if you look back at the 2009 team that went to the World Series, the Bachelors, the Hosmans, coming into that year, there were already parents that had reserved rooms in Williamsport just in case. We were all kind of talking about it. I remember talking to Bill Loud about it at the district level that year, sort of not expecting it, but like, hey, maybe this could happen, right? That was certainly not the case for these guys. These guys, overcame all expectations, went way further than anybody could have possibly imagined. To finish as one of the last 24 teams in the country, for a team that, really, wasn't expected to make it out of the sectionals or district. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. So great job by those guys. And, I'm sure the little kids would love to be there, but I mean, honestly, if it's any solace, with the World Series being closed to the public now, even to the families, the moms and dads, I mean, if you're not going to be able to go, this is probably the year you want to lose and not be able to go. I mean, it would not have been the same experience without the crowds, without mom and dad there and that kind of stuff.
Without the international teams too.
Well, that too, yeah. No, but even so, like if it was just the American teams, like with a full house or even just a limited attendance, at least the fans and not even the strangers, which was a great experience. The kids always talk about playing in front of strangers and how cool that is, the fans and stuff. But even your own family, I mean, you imagine, you're only in 6th or 7th grade and your mom, your grandma, your aunts and uncles and stuff can't come watch you play on a stage like that. That would be a little weird. We've all on this podcast been to high school games at venues that are too big, right? And are empty. And it tends to be a little strange, a little weird to play. And so, you're at this 10,000 seat Lamity Stadium in Williamsport and it's empty. That's not going to be too much fun for those kids. So I feel really badly about that. And, not that Peabody wanted to lose. I mean, I'm sure all those kids would trade anything to be going to Williamsport, but, if it makes them feel a little better, like, with that news coming out on Friday that they were closing the place, I'm not sure that it would have been the same experience, anyway.
Yeah. Well, in some other baseball, I know our amateur, adult leagues are playing. The championship series in the North Shore Baseball League opens up on Monday night. North Shore Phillies at Kingston. They continue on Tuesday night. This will air on Tuesday. But Nick Kukuru, I know you've also been covering the Intertown League. Their championship series is underway as well. What can you share with us?
Yeah, they got started over the weekend. Manchester Essex Mariners and the Hamilton Generals, and the Mariners won both weekend games. So they're in command of that best of 5 series. They're up 2-0. And Wednesday night is game 3 at Hamilton. So they can clinch with a win there. Hamilton needs to win 3 in a row to take it. But yeah, I mean, it was, Rusty Tucker again came out, shut out 12 strikeouts on Saturday in game 1. That was an 8-0 Mariners win. And then they brought out the bats on Sunday with an 8-4 win. They were down 4-3 early. And it was, I believe, James McKenna 4 hits. Marcus Montanino had 4 hits in Saturday's win. But yeah, and the Mariners, they're actually retooled this year. They got a lot of new players. A lot of those veterans, Gloucester guys left. Rory Gentile's not there anymore. Mike Kane, Adam Philpott, they all stepped away this year. But they got some of those Manchester Essex state championship kids who are starting to trickle in. Bennett O'Leary has been huge for them. Dylan Wilson, he was there last year too. He's been great. And they also got a couple Gloucester guys. I mentioned Marcus Montanino and Zach Abbott, who was Gloucester High's ace this spring. He's throwing some big innings for the Mariners too. Then you have Hamilton. I mean, there's a lot of familiar faces there too. I know they got a couple of their guys from Hamilton Wenham High that can throw. Ryan Hutchinson and Luke McClintock. I believe, was that their 1-2 this spring for the Generals High School?
Yeah, close to it. I mean, Carter Coffey was in there too, but he
pitches for them as well. I know Hunter Wilachowski is their ace.
Yeah, they got some of those older guys. Wilachowski. I don't know if Horgan pitches much.
Pitched yesterday.
But all these guys have been at Hamilton Wenham in the last, call it 3-4 years. I mean, so it's really an influx of young guys over there.
Yeah, and they can really hit. So that was a big, performance to hold them to 4 runs over 2 games. And I mean, honestly, if you take Tucker out of the equation, because he's kind of the ace in the hole, they're pretty evenly matched. But I mean, you get into a tough spot. You gotta basically beat them every game when Tucker's not pitching, and they already lost one on Saturday. So it's going to be tough for them to come back because they're going to have to get through him again, probably Saturday if it gets to game 4.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it felt like they really kind of left that Sunday game on the table there. I mean, you kind of chalk Saturday up to just losing to Tucker, and you really need to come back and even off that series. And as we see in these, in these summer leagues, whether it's ITL or NSBL, the experience tends to win out at the end. That's the thing. Hamilton maybe just isn't quite ready. Maybe too many young guys. I mean, they won the regular season this year, but the battle-tested guys like Tucker tend to come through here at the end of the year. We see that in these summer situations. I mean, Hamilton hasn't won the league since what was it, like 94 or 5 or something like this?
92. So it's
Wow.
I mean, it's historically, I want to say it was the Mariners and the Rockport Townies have won 33 out of the last 38 championships, something ridiculous like that. I mean, the league goes all the way back to the 1920s, so it's been around forever. But yeah, it's been dominated by those Cape Ann teams as of late.
It's crazy too. I mean, a guy like Will Frayne, I don't know if he played over the weekend, but he might have to go back to college or whatever.
Against Rockport, hit a home run, and I haven't seen him since. I've seen every one of Hamilton games since, and he hasn't been there.
He was playing for Rowley of the North Shore League too. So that Sunday he played in a North Shore League playoff game. I think he had a couple RBIs. Then he got in the car, drove down to the ITL game, hit a home run, and now I think he's driven back to UMass to start fall ball. So with the Frayne train, maybe it's like, that the commuter rail there that runs past Patton Park. Maybe that's the Frayne train line too.
Hops on and off the train. I got a couple of baseball notes here. One I'll share. I noticed where Sal Frelick, formerly of Lexington High, Boston College, and the Navigators, is off to a pretty good start in the Brewers organization, having signed his contract. So, and we have a tweet up on our post on this on MSO News Sports from the Brewers organization on how he's doing. And Matt, I noticed you had a tweet this week that Bishop Fenwick baseball coach Russ Steves is stepping down.
Yeah, Russ has decided to, take some time for the family. Both of his kids are going to be in college and are, not going to college locally. So he wants to be able to travel with his wife to see the kids as often as he can. And I think he said it was something like 33 years total in the Bishop Fenwick program as a player, as an assistant coach, and finally as head coach. I mean, so, he certainly has given it all to Fenwick over the years and done a wonderful job. I mean, state championship as a player, state championship as an assistant coach, back-to-back North championships as a head coach, and 635 winning percentage, I think it was. So great guy who will be missed. Love talking to Russ. He was one of the early adopters of sending me his stats on the computer, making my life easy. So I'll always appreciate that. Takes the game very seriously, but also always has a smile on his face afterwards. So that's, that's just a perfect mix. And going to be an interesting job to watch, as we've seen the Catholic Central League's resources, shall we say, grow in recent years. You look at the success of St. Mary's and of Austin Prep. I'm sure Fenwick's going to want to try to mimic that, and there will be a lot of young coaches, that feel like they can do that over at Fenwick. So, it should draw a lot of talented, experienced names that I've been hearing already that would have interest in that job. So, definitely something to watch here in the coming months. Again, like maybe the third or fourth best program in their own league, but what does that mean if you win back-to-back North titles? I mean, that means you got a lot of talent. That's what and you got a great league. And so definitely something to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've done a lot of baseball, but that's the way it is at this time of year, I guess. Nick, do you want to, Nick Giannino, do you want to share a golf note or two? Anything happening here? I know things have slowed down even on that front, right?
Yeah, well, we got the amateur public links tournament coming up Tuesday, Wednesday this week. I'm not sure how many local guys we have, but it's usually a pretty popular one. Last year they had it locally. I think it was at Gannon in Lynn, as well as either Beverly or Peabody, I believe. But anyway, they play at public golf courses, and it's a pretty good tournament usually. So be on the lookout for that. I'm not sure again which local kids are in it this year, but it's always a pretty talented field. Another mass golf tournament, so they do a really good job with those. And we had the North Shore Amateur wrap up last week. I think we touched upon it on last week's podcast, but it's officially over now. And E. Kwan was the champion out of Far Corner, the host club there. He's been there had a great interview with him. He's been there all his life pretty much. He learned how to play golf there when he was about 14 years old. Took lessons from Bill Flynn, the old owner there, and then moved on and took lessons from John O'Connor, who's still the head professional now. And he's competed in that tournament, the North Shore Amateur, for over 20 years, never won it. He's had some good performances, but never actually came out on top. And finally was able to do that this year. He shot back-to-back even par rounds. So it's cool to see that. He walked away with a nice set of brand new Titleist irons. And there's some good performances all around. Jared Massid, last year's champion, ended up, backing out of the tournament after the first day. He shot at 80 on the first day, and I guess he just figured he didn't have a chance on the second day and didn't come back to defend his title. But overall, great tournament. The course is in great shape. They had a good turnout, over 65 guys, and they got both days in. There's been a lot of times in recent years where it's rained on either the first or second day, and it's had to just be a one-day tournament. But this year they had good weather and were able to do it both days. And again, it turned out pretty well for Keith Kwan out of Fargo.
Gotcha. You guys, let me just throw high school football up there in the big, from a 20,000-foot view, if you will. Anything to share with us? Any high school football notes to share with us at this point, guys? With practices not too far off here.
Yeah, Friday they start, right? Well, we
Yeah.
got a new coach in Manchester Essex, Joe Grimes. He was Jeff Hutton's assistant for the last several seasons, so he's stepping in there. Manchester Essex, who's making a move to the Commonwealth Conference this year. They're going. They were independent in 2019. They were back in the Cape Ann League for COVID reasons during the fall too, and now they're going to the Commonwealth Conference, which they've had great success, and I think they qualified for the Super Bowl 4 times, 1, 2. While playing in that conference. They had about a 15-20 year run in there in the late 90s until about 2010. They moved back to the Cal in 2011. So it's a big move for them. They should be very competitive in that league. I know they got Kip, Lynn Tech, Georgetown is joined them in there, and a lot of those tech schools in the area as well. So they'll be pretty competitive in that league with the new coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of interesting. Do we know? I'm just looking here. It looks like Hamilton Wenham is opening at Gloucester.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting crossover game there. Obviously, Coach Pugh has coached against Gloucester many times. I'm not sure. Maybe he beat him once in the old days at Masco. But that's a nice little matchup for opening day. Cape Ann League NEC crossover.
Yeah, big time. Coach Pugh is it. I know he had, when Paul Ingram was there, Gloucester kind of had their number. And then, once Zarrilli came in, it kind of flipped. Gloucester, played them tough a bunch of times, just couldn't get over the hump. I think it was like 4 straight. Each team won 4 straight, kind of overlapping. But yeah, I think that's the first time they're ever going to meet. They were supposed to meet last year before COVID stepped in and eliminated any out of conference games. But that'll be a good barometer for Gloucester. I think Gloucester's kind of still looking to improve. Well, where Hamilton Wenham is, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender or anything, but they're tough out. You got to be a pretty good team to get past them. So that'll be a good barometer for Gloucester.
Yeah, I think really.
Who are they throwing out at quarterback this year with Coffey out of the mix?
Oh yeah, they'll have a new guy. I'm not sure who it's going to be. Obviously they. Fenwick had been Hamilton had been opening with Fenwick for the past few years, and Fenwick has kind of, I think, outgrown that a little bit at this moment in time, and that's okay. But I mean, I think Gloucester's a great challenge. I mean, you look at Gloucester, you say, well, they've been down in the NEC, but the NEC is probably a couple of steps above the Cal Baker anyway, and so I think, like, from a physicality standpoint, that's a really good matchup. It'll be really interesting to see. How that goes. I think it's a pretty even matchup that should be, really entertaining. Just taking a look at Fenwick here, see who they got instead. It looks like it's South Hadley. I don't know anything about them. But Fenwick, had to shuffle their schedule around too, I think, with the CCL changes, so they'll play Bishop Fee and Bishop Stang. The CCL kind of having that north-south structure now kind of gave them some fewer open dates. I think one other thing, high school football wise, Thanksgiving wise, I don't think Masco has an opponent at this juncture. I know they dropped Everett without a solution in mind, and I don't think they ever found one. So that's certainly something interesting from a holiday standpoint.
You know, the other thing too,
Thanksgiving matchups are reverting. The teams that should have hosted in 2020 are going to host in 2021. So all these old time series, I know I'm always used to, you know, odd years, Gloucester, Danvers is in Gloucester, even years it's in Danvers. That's flopped now. So that they'll be playing in Danvers. And I think that's the case with all of them, at least in the NEC. I believe in the Cal too, because I know Manchester Essex was, you know, usually hosts on the even years. And I think they're hosting this year.
these schools have to wait like 2 years to get that big gate.
Yeah.
They missed out on, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. It takes some getting used to.
You know, the other thing too, just to point out to the listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the Northeastern Conference, all the teams, their first 3 games are all non-league games. So that, which is what, to your point, what you guys were talking about earlier. So that allows for some very interesting scheduling that I'm sure we'll be touching on later on, but at some point, but just something to be aware of that, you know, you could play crossovers in the same league, but they'd be a non-league schedule. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was gonna say I'm not totally like it's interesting because we've seen some teams that are going far and wide. I mean, like, you know, Danvers is having to play what did we say, Reading and Tewksbury, and you know, couldn't really find much in the way of crossover matchups in the NEC. You know, whereas a team like Peabody is playing almost exclusively NEC matchups. They only have one non-leaguer, and it's Revere, and that was an NEC matchup, you know, 10 minutes ago. So a little bit different philosophy there. I guess it just depends how good you've been in recent years. You know, Danvers is still sort of suffering that reputation of being too good for some of those teams to play, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let's just jump to a few other sports here. Let's jump to the pro scene here. Patriots Red Sox. Let me knock those two off here. Do you guys want to make an observation on any of those? I noticed Red Sox start tomorrow night. Well, at least today, when we talk Monday, they're 3 back of the Rays, which means thank you, Orioles. But they're only 2.5 up on the Yankees, and they do play 2 games against the Yankees on Tuesday, a day-night doubleheader. And of course, the Patriots opened up this past week as well, last week. So I don't know if you guys want to comment on either the Patriots or the Red Sox.
I can touch on the Red Sox real quick. I just think they're trending in the right direction again. Obviously, you mentioned the Orioles. That series was pretty good for their morale. I mean, that's a team they should have beaten all 3 times, and they did. But they're hitting the ball better. They got Kyle Schwarber back in the lineup now since trading for him, and he looks like he's healthy and hitting the ball pretty well. So that's a nice addition. They even brought the mayor of Ding Dong City back, Travis Shaw. Not sure if you guys saw that. He's had a couple down years in Milwaukee, but they brought him back. I don't know where they're going to use him or if he'll be playing much, maybe as a pinch hitter or a fill-in guy, but good locker room guy. Obviously started his career in Boston, so that was nice to see. And Chris Sale back in the mix, had a pretty good start in his first game back in over 2 years. I think he went 5 or 6 innings.
5, yeah.
5 innings, 8 strikeouts, let up a couple home runs, but that's always kind of been the thing with Chris Sale. You know, the guys either jump on one and hit it out the park, or he's striking them out, or they're hitting ground balls. So he looked good to me. Hopefully he can stay healthy and give them a little boost there in the pitching department. But obviously this Yankees series is going to be huge. If they can beat those guys, then they're in pretty good shape down the stretch here.
I thought his control was really good. You know,
Yeah,
all things considered. I mean, there was some.
It looked like the Chris Sale slider we've come to know and love. So, good signs.
And it didn't look like he packed on too many pounds over the COVID. No. You know, so he did well.
He had said he changed his diet up a little bit. I know he was a big McDonald's guy and soda guy, but he's kind of cut back on that stuff. So he's getting a little bit older. He's got to be more careful, more cautious about his physical health, and it seems like he's in a good spot mentally and physically right now.
Oh, keep our fingers crossed there. How about the Pats? Any thoughts on their opener?
I mean, I thought Newton looked like Newton, and Mac Jones looks like he needs a little time. So that was a little bit of a tough result. I mean, if it wasn't Cam Newton here, I'd be all in aboard on the let Mac Jones wait a year train. But I mean, he might actually be better. So I mean, their offense looked like a regular offense when he was in. I know they didn't run Newton and he only played 13 snaps, but I mean, I don't know. It was kind of tough to take too much, really, all that positive out of it. I wanted to see a new and improved Newton, and he looked pretty much all the same. All of his passes were low and whipped with no touch on them. He looked like the same guy, and that's probably going to be the starter. So we better be ready for that.
I like what I saw from the kicker there. He hit a bomb out there, and he hit a couple of field goals. I know he missed an extra point, but overall, pretty good start for him.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on the running backs. I mean, that's just nobody's really talking about this because you got a quarterback controversy. But I mean, the Stevenson kid looked really good. I remember they drafted him. I'm saying, well, they have 97 running backs. What are they wasting a pick on a guy like this for? And so you wonder, like, okay, who's out the door? I mean, Michelle got passed by Harris last year. All of a sudden, Harris might be behind the Stevenson kid, and you still have James White for like third downs and receiving and stuff. I mean, you can't, I mean, that's 4 right there.
And you got the little guy there too. What the heck's his name? Taylor?
Yeah, JJ Taylor's pretty good too. So I mean, he's almost certainly on the out because I mean, I don't think you can redshirt or practice squad these guys. So that's sort of interesting. Like something's got to give there. There's a lot of good players. I mean, unless they plan on cutting some of these lousy receivers and just having a White line up at receiver full time. I mean, maybe that's one solution.
I think White could be the odd man out. I mean, he kind of isn't. He went from being as good a fit as you could possibly have with Brady to not really fitting in with what they want to do at all. I mean, I feel like the way they're built, they're going to kind of want to lean on teams and use that size up front to their advantage. And he kind of doesn't really translate to that style of play. I mean, he might be the most reliable player, one of the most reliable players we've ever had here, but he's not really, he's not really built for the power running game, which looks like that's going to be their strength this season.
Oh, exactly. No, I agree. I was surprised. I kind of thought it would come to a head in the off season, like, time to move on. Just like, maybe he get replaced by Taylor, just like he replaced the cat before him that caught all the Shane Vereen, I think.
Shane Vereen, yeah.
Yeah, White kind of replaced him, and that's just, hey, that's how it goes. You get 4 or 5 years, and when it costs too much money, it's see you later time. But I wonder if just not having Brady, some of the leadership, they don't want to cut an elder statesman like that because the team's still fragile mentally right now. I mean, when you had Brady and the linebackers they had in those days, it was easy to cut guys because they still had leaders. And now White's kind of one of those guys. Maybe that's why they kept him. I don't know, but he could be, headed down to Tampa, reunite with all those guys down there. Maybe.
Well, we know we're not getting Dion Lewis back. I heard he retired.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's the thing. They've churned through so many backs, good ones over the years. Like you got to trust. Maybe the Stevenson guy's the next guy, but geez, the Harris was so impressive last year. Like I expected him to sort of be a 1,300 yard full-time viable fantasy good guy this year. And like now all of a sudden they're in this hodgepodge again. It's strange.
I just want to add one final note here that Phil Stacy is not with us here today. He's on vacation. Just wanted to point that out. Last week he showed up on the podcast without a beard, which was breaking news, but I didn't pick up on it, to be honest with you. So we've asked Phil not to come back till he has a full beard. So he'll be back soon, but he couldn't make it back this week because he still got to grow. What's that?
He's got 2 weeks, so he's got a little bit of time here.
Yeah, I think he's got plenty of time. Yeah, I think he's got plenty of time and he'll pull it off, I'm sure. So we'll see.
I got a couple basketball notes, Bill, real quick. I know we touched on them last week, but it's nice to keep up with the local guys. And Marcus Zagorowski's doing great in the summer league. I know it's just the summer league, but he's shooting the ball really well. He's playing with confidence. I think he has one of the best plus minuses. Kind of a dumb stat in the NBA, but it's becoming more and more prevalent in recent years. And he's just been a plus guy for them. I think he had 12 points in yesterday's win over San Antonio. He's like 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. So it's got to watch out for. I know he's a late second-round pick, but he might get a spot on their G League or maybe even a two-way guy or maybe even make the roster if he keeps this up. So nice to see him doing well. And the Celtics might have the greatest summer league team of all time. The way they're playing right now, they're just blowing everyone out. They're a lock to go into the finals, which is cool. I know Peyton Pritchard is kind of weighing his options, seeing if he wants to still play. He's been kind of dominating for them, but you got guys like Aaron Naismith doing really well. Even this undrafted rookie, I can't think of his name, Willie, but he hit like 6 or 7 threes the other night.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but so they seem to be gelling pretty well in the summer league. I guess that's not huge, but it's a good sign moving forward that they got some nice young players. And obviously some of these guys are not rookies. They've been in the league for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, but they're putting on a show. So hopefully to see them come out on top.
Between your two thoughts there, I was thinking that it was great news that Marcus Zagorowski is doing well in the summer league, but also the bad news is the Celtics are also doing well in the summer league. So, It is what it is, the summer league.
Right.
But that's great for him. Yeah.
This is why the main red claws are always so good, right?
Yeah.
Got all those 15th picks of the draft on that team. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, gentlemen, great talking with you guys, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.